Have you been out of the country?
Yeah, multiple times.
Where have you gone?
I've gone to other places.
Yeah, other country. Tell me where you've been.
Yeah, I've been to other countries. I don't need to tell you my cultural differences. I
Oh,
want
there it
to.
is. You haven't gone out of North America, have you, Mark? This is like that
Yeah, I
episode
have.
of SpongeBob. Where?
I
Tell me
have.
where then.
I
Then
don't.
say
Why do I
where.
need? I don't need to tell you anything. I'm not just
You're
because I've been
Fauciing me
places.
right now? You're pleading the fifth? That's what's going on here? All of a sudden, you talk so much game for years, and now the minute I just have one time I turn it back on you. You're like, nope, I don't want to tell you. Hey, welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that is perfectly balanced as all things should be. I am your host, Max Mosier, here today to talk with you about Spider-Man Brand New Day. I am not alone. I'm joined by two of our other five Infinity Bro rotating cast members. First, he is usually our host with the most, but today he just gets to be an excited fan and great reviewer. It is Isaac Edlund. Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful this weekend. I have been just absolutely swimming in Spider-Man, and I love it. Can't wait for this review and to hopefully just continue to talk Spider-Man all week long. Like I already, like I walked out of the theater and wanted to go see it again. So I hope I get to at some point, but I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, as of recording at 7:52 p.m., it's already made $927 million, the second highest opening of all time on a weekend. And when you have an opening like that, you can't just have two people on the show. You have to have three, especially in the Infinity Bros. And that's why we've brought in our tinfoil extraordinaire, the peanut butter to my jelly, the Ren to my Stippy. He is iconic. Give it up for Mark Jones. Mark, how are you?
Do you think the people at Marvel are shooting webs with all the money they made this weekend?
Fat stacks
just with Spider-Man. Sony's probably like, yeah, this is a bread and butter. Gotta keep doing this.
Sony's never letting go of Spider-Man. Never. Yeah. It's never happening.
No, it's never happening. Ever happening. Mark, thanks for being on. We're grateful you're here, and we're looking forward to hearing your theories from this. There are a lot online right now, and I know you're going to have some strong opinions. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thanks for making us part of your podcast listening experience. If you want to check out all the things we talk about today, you want to engage in the conversation, you can check us out at Infinity Bros on X, Instagram, Twitch, Patreon. We also can be part of Patreon. We had a 45-minute conversation before this talking about Hall H, talking about Disclosure Day, talking about a couple other things that Max, never mind. I'm just going to leave that out. I'm going to leave that alone. If you want context to that, it's a big no-no in podcasting to have inside jokes, but it sounds like we have some. You can be part of the inside joke for as little as $2 a month and feed Infinity Bro Zane for a whole month. We're not going to beat the lead here. We're going to jump right into it. We are recording on August 2nd, a few days after the release date of the Destin Daniel Cretton, Spider-Man Brand New Day, the fourth installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of Spider-Man, starring Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man Zendaya as Mary Jane or MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, Sadie Sink as, spoiler, in case you haven't seen it yet, I will not reveal that yet.
Spoiler warning up.
I am going to put the spoiler warning. And then John Bernthal as Frank Castle and Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. I will not say anybody else to avoid any spoilers for you, because we are going to give a non-spoiler review as we are reviewing it on the weekend. And some people apparently have not seen this yet, even though the movie's made close to $1 billion.
So who's listening to this podcast that hasn't seen the movie yet?
I don't know, but they're out there, and I want to look out for them.
Listen to this 3-minute segment that there are no spoilers in. So
they'll pause, and then they'll come back, and then they'll subscribe, and then they'll like, and then they'll go to YouTube and like and subscribe. That's how this works. So before we dive in, we're going to do a brief, not spoiling, Mark.
Let me go first.
Not spoiling. This means you give the rating. You say what you think of the movie. You don't review the movie. You just say what you thought of your experience of the movie.
All right.
And then we go to Isaac, and he'll share his, and then I'll share mine, and then we'll spoil it. So, Mark, we'll start with you. Keep it brief, please.
6 out of 6. I had fun. I laughed. I cried. And I want to see it again. There it is.
I am a brutal host and did not explain the rating system. So, Mark, thank you for the first 6 out of 6. I'm going to go ahead and put the explanation of our rating system right here in case this is your first time listening to us.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an Infinity Step.
I'm going to go next so that Isaac can go last. I, too, am giving this a 6 out of 6. I loved this movie. This movie is one of the best movie experiences I've had in my life. I've only seen it once, and that's my biggest regret coming into this podcast. I wish I could have seen it a second time before doing this. This movie is one of those movies I will look back in my life and go, I walked out completely different from this movie experience. If we ever talk about in a documentary years from now how the Marvel Cinematic Universe did so well for so long, I now am comfortable saying the Sony partnership will be a key piece of that puzzle because of this movie. This movie is so needed, so wonderful. It is the blueprint of how you do a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. 6 out of 6. It's a top 6 MCU movie for me all time. It is number 3 in all of my Spider-Man movie ranks, and I'll get into that more in the weeds later. But that is my rank, 6 out of 6. Isaac, we'll pass it off to you before we get into spoilers.
Mark, you said you laughed and you cried, and I would like to second that. I had so many emotions going into this movie, and coming out of it, I was thoroughly satisfied with this entire cinematic experience with the movie itself. Coming out of it, I want to watch it again. I want to sit on it a little bit, but I think that it is my favorite live action Spider-Man movie, which is saying a lot because I love all of them. Tom Holland's best performance ever. Not just MCU, anything that he's ever done. This is it. This is like the pinnacle of his career. Fantastic movie. I almost have zero qualms. There's like maybe one or two nitpicky things that I could say that I probably will talk about. But man, I walked out of this movie so happy about Spider-Man, about the MCU. Like, this invigorated my love for the MCU again. 6 out of 6. So good. I can't wait to talk about it.
We hope to hear what you think about this. You can shoot us an email, infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. If you have not seen Spider-Man Brand New Day, what the heck are you doing? Pause this now. Go see it. Come on back. Listen to us in the car on the way back. But we're now going to start diving into spoilers from this point on. So this is your official spoiler warning.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler warning.
Okay, guys. There's a lot to talk about. So normally we go character by character, but I think sequence is going to be our best friend here because there's just so much to talk about, and I want to make sure I honor all of that. I want to talk about, to start, the Destin Daniel Cretton picking up literally exactly where the previous movie left off. I know it's a 4-year difference, but the title sequence highlights essentially everything that happened in the first 3 movies that were Spider-Man title movies. It does briefly talk about some things from Endgame, some things from other movies that have happened. There are characters referenced in this movie that are from other projects. For instance, we obviously had the reveal of Florence Pugh, which we're going to talk about as Yelena later. We had the big reveal, which was Jean Grey, played by Sadie Sink, part of the X-Men. And then John Bernthal, who just had his own special a couple months ago, playing Frank Castle, brought a much more lighter tone to this movie. The thing that really struck to me at the beginning was how much they were going into the isolation. He lives in this city with millions of people, yet feels incredibly isolated. We see some of the work he's done. We obviously see the mayor, who is from Daredevil season 2, giving him the key to the city. He's washing his clothes. Talk to me about how you guys were emotionally responding to that right out the gate. You're thrusted right into this movie, and we're sent into this isolated space alongside Peter Parker's Spider-Man, played by Holland. What was your response to that? Isaac, you're a Spider-Man fan. Are you one of those Spider-Man fans that says a suffering Spider-Man is my Spider-Man? Like, what's your response to that?
That's such a good question. And I feel like I have to say that yes, suffering Spider-Man is the best kind of Spider-Man, because to start over here, I watched all 3 of the Spider-Man MCU movies. I watched Homecoming, watched Far From Home, and then watched No Way Home coming into this, because I wanted to be like fresh. I wanted to be able to catch all the Easter eggs that I could find. And coming off of No Way Home at the end, when, the spell happens and he finally gets his own apartment, like, we start to see the loneliness that he's going to have as Spider-Man. And like you said, Max, it picks up right from where No Way Home left off. They did such an incredible job at showing the loneliness, the kind of down on his luck Peter Parker. And that's just such a huge component of Peter Parker, of like the Parker luck. That's like kind of the phrase in the comics. Like, anything that can happen bad probably will happen in Spider-Man's life or Peter Parker's life. And up until this point in the MCU, I mean, like, yeah, he's had some bad stuff happen, and then obviously Aunt May dying in No Way Home was kind of like the big trigger that started all this. But we haven't seen destitute Spider-Man. And because of that, I think there's a lot of people that have mixed feelings on the MCU Spider-Man. This movie was the first movie that I felt like this is truly Spider-Man, not Tom Holland Spider-Man, not MCU Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man, man. This is a true Spider-Man movie, and that's part of the reason why I loved it so much. Just pure Spider-Man. You feel the, like I said, loneliness and the down on his luck, and man, that's when he's at his best. When he is still at his lowest, trying to help people, and you see the hope in the character of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. That's it, man. That's what I've been begging for this whole time. And to be clear, I love the MCU Spider-Man movies. Like, I'm not saying those are bad movies or anything, but this is the first time where that true Peter Parker character has finally gotten to shine through in the MCU. So I am very, very, very happy about how Destin Daniel Cretton handled his character. And like I said in my non-spoiler review, Tom Holland rocked that. In the previous movies, it almost is like they were trying to modernize him a little bit by like changing his character into a Miles Morales-esque character, but as Peter Parker. And I just thought, this is where we expect him to be, is like, yes, he still has hope. He's still joking. And the jokey Spider-Man in this was peak. It was on point. But you still get that kind of like sadness in him in all his interactions with people. Florence Pugh like picks it out too. She's like, wow, you're sad, Spider-Man. Like, oh, that was just so good. I'm gonna stop talking now and let you guys talk, because I could keep talking forever.
No, I appreciate that, Isaac. Mark, what did you think about the opening montage with all the different Spider-Man villains? They literally pop off different Spider-Man villains of essentially famous runs throughout time. You and I had debated on this show many episodes of who was the big villain in this. And
well, clearly those castings were just a foil to a red herring, if I may, to be like, nope, we're actually not going to do anything Sinister Six-esque. It's just, here's the bad person. It's Jean Grey. She's controlling everything situation, which I think was good. You keep it. I have a really strong feeling that Jean Grey was going to be in this movie. I didn't think she was going to be the main protagonist in the whole time. So,
and I'll give you credit. I will give you credit, Mark. You, on this episode, I believe 2 or 3 episodes ago, you predicted that Sarah might be in this movie. And I had not heard that theory out in public. Now, you and I are also shotgun theory people, so we say a lot of types of
hey, you shoot the shotgun enough times, you're gonna hit a target.
Hey, and you know what? I'm giving you the Swaggy P treatment, Mark. You're a volume shooter. I'm gonna let you keep shooting. I'm gonna keep dishing you the rock. That's how I work. Okay. What I'm saying is I think you're right. You and I even got deep into the weeds with who was the Jackal in this movie. There was a lot of different theories that were running around about
the Phoenix was going to be part of it.
Yeah, and we were wondering if it's Jean Grey, is she good? And they're just okie doking us with that. I do think that was a fascinating thing to get into, and it was really, really interesting to see Scorpion have so much screen time in this movie in two particular scenes. One in the beginning, and then obviously one where Peter's really wrestling with the mutation that's, he's working through how to manage this mutation. Isaac, what were you going to say?
So, hand up accountability, I did not think that Sadie Sink was playing Jean Grey up until I watched this movie. Like, you guys kept saying that, and I was like, I don't see any scenario where this is not just like a Jean Grey appearance is not just like a backdoor of like, hey, there's mutants in the MCU, everybody. And I just was like, how is this going to fit? But having her play the main villain, that was it. That was the perfect way to have her in this movie. Even introduce the mutants, but not,
Spider-Man
and that not being the full focus of the movie. Because that was my thought. Like, if Jean Grey's in this, why is it a Spider-Man movie? Like, why are we introducing her in a Spider-Man? Like, it just did not connect the dots for me. But this was the perfect way to do it. Like, they were right on point with that. And the other guys, I was a little bummed because we saw that sequence at the beginning. Fantastic sequence where they got like all the comic book shots of Spider-Man in there. But I was like, it showed that in the whole trailer. And I was like, I really wanted to see a little bit more of those guys. In hindsight, I'm like, yeah, if they had more screen time, this movie would have been way overstuffed. Like every other Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm glad they didn't do that. The Scorpion little bit of extra screen time I loved because Michael Mando is fantastic. He's a great Scorpion. And when Jean Grey had control of him too, whoo, boy, that was epic. And I thought that was a perfect way to kind of like introduce how powerful she really is. Like, we got her interacting with him before, but taking control of Scorpion, that was kind of a big deal. Like, yes, he is kind of like on the Spider-Man level of villains. He's kind of like a villain of the week type of villain, small potatoes, if you may. But to show that like she could take this small potato villain and make him kind of a big deal, I thought that was cool. So that was a great introduction. But again, would have been cool to see a little bit more of those. I understand why they didn't. And in hindsight, totally okay. But the villain of the week stuff, that's Spider-Man, man. That's just part of who he is, that he's taking on these street level guys and, taking them down every day. Loved it.
And Stan Lee always did a great job alongside Kirby with making sure that the villains that were in Spider-Man's wheelhouse reflected realities of what his hero could be if it was left unchained, a la Batman in DC. And I think his Rogue Galleries really showcases that, which is why I think this montage really worked well. If you're really into comic book characters, if you're really into Spider-Man lore, that first 10 minutes was a smorgasbord of different types of cameos that were not needing to be big cameos, but were sufficient and awesome cameos for those that love it.
And it was good that first 10 minutes because we got the whole, like, right after the last movie, and we get like, hey, it's been 4 years. We know that he's, as Isaac loves, a joyless Spider-Man who now has to watch his friends grow up and have a life without him. But then we also get a little bit of like, he's been fighting crime and these villains have now come out of the woodwork and he stopped him. I think that was a neat little thing where it's like, okay, like after we got that, I was like, that's when I was like, okay, who's going to be the bad guy that we see all the time? Because I was like, here's all the bad guys that we were told they were going to be in this, and now they're gone in the first 10 minutes.
The genetic mutation starts to kick in. We obviously see his powers starting to evolve. His eyes just turn black. He's able to use actual webbing. It was really cheeky. I loved when he referenced Peter 2 in that, and when he's calling out to his webs as he's flying through the city. I thought that was really cool. He obviously wakes up in his own webbing, and it's triggered because of the relationship of him, MJ, and Ned, as we see him engaging them. And we're going to get to the mutation in a bit. I want to talk briefly about, because all the things we talk about are going to come back to these two relationship. I was floored that Ned and MJ were in this movie as much as they were. I couldn't believe how much screen time these two got. In particular, Ned. It made sense that MJ would be in it, but Ned being in it was really a lot.
Do you think the energy drink Ned drinks is going to turn him into the Hobgoblin?
Yeah, he's definitely turning into Hobgoblin.
That was my thought. It was like, are they going to make this thing like, hey, you drank too much of this, you turn crazy? And anyways.
He's going to be a Hobgoblin in the future. That's pretty much where they're setting this all up, right? I think there's no world where this ends without him being a Hobgoblin. That's a separate conversation, maybe down the end of the episode. I just want to give this movie a ton of credit in an era of cell phones and social media and isolation. And now, if you break up with somebody, you technically have the ability to look up and follow their life without ever talking to them again. It's kind of creepy that some people do it in a kind of a stalker way, but they use it in a way in this movie to tell Peter's emotional stability without showing him as creepy or without showing him as a bad guy. And these two triggering this mutation, seeing Ned having this essentially wonderful life of graduating from MIT, you see Zendaya in love and kissing someone else, and he just goes flying through the city without his uniform on. Immediately, this is just a movie that people, definitely men, but people from the ages of 16 to 34, maybe 35, are going to really, really relate with this movie if they have had relationships with social media or live in an area where they have significant people in their lives that they're engaging with. I thought that was a brilliant, brilliant way to tell the mutation story and to make it small, because I didn't know if they were going to go the man spider route by the end of this, Isaac, but they're definitely hinting at it in the long term. And Mark, you and I were wondering, is this because of the symbiote? Is this because, like, right, what was the reason for this? And I thought the reason was simple. Hey, you're in a lot of anxiety. You are isolating. You are leaning more into the spider part of you versus the man part of you. And then obviously we'll get to the end here in a bit with the fight with the hand, but that becomes the catalyst for the apex of this character to really become every movie. It feels like it jumps him another level. And this was the device to tell that story. And the trigger, if you will, were his friends, Ned and MJ. And ironically, it was the other characters around him that elevated him to meet them when things get pear-shaped relationally. What were your thoughts with that, Isaac?
Yeah, my favorite part of that was the Galaxy Fold, where he was following their Instagram relationships and stuff. Just like there was like 2 or 3 moments of obvious product placement that I was like, oh, okay, all right.
The Little Caesars one.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like the male loneliness thing it's going to connect with a lot of guys that, I mean, love Spider-Man. Like we all grew up loving Spider-Man, right? Like that's our era. That's our thing. So once again, they hit that just perfectly. And I am interested in the man spider thing, however, because I thought it would be kind of cool if he grew an extra pair of arms. Like that would have been pretty cool. If that happens in the future.
Were we expecting that? We'll get to the scene at the end in a bit.
I was fully
were you expecting it during that scene?
Yeah, okay. Oh boy, I don't know if I was expecting it watching the movie, but I was like,
when are these other forms?
And I still kind of wonder that too. Like you said, yes, now he's more balanced, but at the same time, it was still like mutating his DNA or whatever, right? Like, so I feel like there's still. They could probably just leave it alone if they really wanted to. But from here on out, are we going to be using organic webbing? Like, I don't know what the future of Spider-Man in the MCU. They could continue that storyline, in my opinion. I would be okay with that because I think that is a cool, like, especially from the 90s, like Spider-Man animated show. That's a really cool run of episodes. I thought that was one of the best parts of the show. So I think that would be cool. I feel like that's so far away from where they want to go with Spider-Man in the MCU, however, though. So I just don't know where that would lead. But at the same time, where does that leave us at the end of this? Like I said, is he now only using organic webbing all the time?
See, and I think the story here, Isaac, is the fans were very much interested in will this happen. And I don't know if I'm going to speak for me. I don't know if I was wondering how that was going to get triggered. I don't know if I was thinking they were going to use the emotional stakes of everyone in the world forgetting who Peter Parker was, the emotional stakes of he doesn't have enough money, he's Uber eating every day, he is getting a key to the city, but literally no one knows who he is. I just thought that was brilliant. And I thought it really is a universally understood concept that anybody at any age can get. But that group of people that I talked about, 16 to 35, have grown up in this era of the social media and the illustration of him in New York City with millions of people, yet he feels isolated and alone, is a feeling I think anybody can relate with. And on the inverse of that, you have three incredibly flawed, traumatized characters in Frank Castle, Yelena, and Bruce Banner, who all are foils to this journey he's on in mutation. You have Frank Castle showing what it's like to lose everything you have and what that could do to you. And it's a true future potentially depiction. They kind of do the bit of like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Peter is looking at himself in the mirror and looking at John Bernthal. And then Yelena, he's talking to her as she makes, small potatoes jokes. We'll talk about that in a second. And even and talking about how, for her losing everything, everything goes strictly to business. It's all business at that point. And then for the Hulk, the monster inside of him not letting it out and not letting it hurt anybody he cares about. I loved how this movie used every character to push his story. And frankly, I think some of these Marvel movies, people get frustrated how bloated they are. What made this movie so special was no character was wasted. None of these characters who were inserted, whether it was the Hulk, and sure, did they do it at first probably to get tickets? Yeah. But guess what? They make complete sense why they're in it. And there's so many characters in Marvel and DC's library section that they can do this. I think Superman did this in the first Superman movie that James Gunn did. I think he did this with Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern. And I'm excited to see movies that do this get love and care, because this is what we have talked about, Mark, for years on this show. We've said, do this well, use your other characters to enhance the story you have, a la Civil War, a la Avengers. Like, do it.
You don't need a whole ensemble cast like that. You just need, like, here, you had Spider-Man, Punisher, Hulk. That was enough for this. Clearly, you can do it with three superheroes, and the main focus is on whoever the movie's about. But I do love, and I see why they put Hulk in it now, why they use him as a foil, because you had to create a reason why he's not going to be in Doomsday, because he's going to be locked up in an asylum.
I don't know, man. I don't think that was the reason they put him in. I really think they put him in to be a foil to Peter Parker. And I think the job at the end was like, okay, we got to get him off the board. How do we get him off the board for Doomsday? I genuinely believe, Mark, they picked him out the gate for this purpose. It made so much sense.
I feel like you added more words to
it. The whole like mutation thing that he goes to him at the Empire State University for, like, he's one of the smartest guys in the MCU at this point. Tony's not around. Peter needs somebody that he can work this out with, and he might be the only guy that he could, like, legitimately. So I think it was perfect.
Did either of you ever think when Bruce turned into the Hulk, that Hulk would remember who Spider-Man was?
I totally thought that because there's that moment in the comics. Connection. Yeah.
Right. This is one of those theories I wrote down, Mark. So we can get to that. There's a lot of different things we can get to. Let's talk Hulk real quick. We'll talk Hulk. We'll go into that character real quick. So the big fight happens towards, I think, the end of the second and early third act, and he fights Hulk. Is your guys' theory that Hulk did remember Peter Parker?
I would go that route. If we're not going to be told explicitly, I would say Hulk had to, in the sense, like, did the spell only happen on Earth? So, like, in a sense, would any of the Guardians or anyone off-world, like if Captain Marvel's off-world, would she remember who Spider-Man was?
Right. Yeah,
it would be universe though by the rules of multiverse, because remember Doctor Strange talked about multiverse. That would have been universes.
I would imagine it'd be universal, but like, I mean, there is that moment in the Hulk or in the comics where that same exact thing happens of like Hulk remembers that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, even though Bruce Banner didn't. So I think that's my headcanon too, is that like in that moment where he was like hanging on the building and then he just let go, I was like, I'm okay with thinking that he remembered, because that's a pretty cool little nod if that is the case. So, but seeing Savage Hulk in action again, it was so good. And that was such a great fight
that they made him Big Hulk again. Like clearly Bruce had made him smaller, and it's like we got unfiltered Hulk here.
When Spider-Man was like, "Oh, I didn't know you could get that big." That was awesome.
And I appreciated that Peter lost that fight. Normally in the trope that people would do in those situations would be that, oh, the power of love beat them. That's not how I read this. What I read it as was Peter didn't stand a chance against Hulk. And I think that's an intentional decision by Marvel, because I do believe World War Hulk is going to happen eventually. And I think they couldn't have had a scene where Peter Parker just takes him on one-on-one for that. I think this is a very early rendition of that. To your credit, Mark.
Two things here. Who took Hulk off the board? Kang or Doom? Second question. Does Scar go see his dad in the asylum?
Does Scar ever show up in the MCU again?
I don't know if Scar ever shows up again, but that's a different
conversation. If we get a World War Hulk movie, he's got it, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Gonna happen.
Yeah, they have the pieces for it, but I got us off the beaten path there. When we go back to theories, Mark, feel free to bring it back up. Let's talk. Okay, we're going to talk Frank Castle at the beginning, because he does show up back at the end when we get to Jean Grey, because there's a lot to unpack with her. But Frank Castle, we learn early on that him and Peter have a relationship. He doesn't know that he's Peter; he's just Spider-Man. And there's this reference to one of my favorite jokes of all time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now this Staten Island joke. I think
I love it.
That whole sequence where they're fighting with each other and MJ is just looking at them is so perfect. And really, this is like, I think, Mark, we talked about this. I forget if you and I were on the episode when we broke down the Punisher. I felt like the Punisher shows have been doing a good job of showing he kills, right? But also there is a level of, he does work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with other people. He does tame himself when he teams up with other people. And I felt like that has been missing for that character.
I think what we've got in the MCU is the Punisher someone that outwardly looks like he doesn't want to talk to anybody. But clearly after this movie, it's like, it really showed this, like, no, he wants that whatever brotherhood, community, friendship. Like, I think deep down subconsciously, he wants to have that connection with the characters, and it's got to be someone, I think, like Peter, who can handle that and kind of give the same quips back to him.
Right.
It's like,
I was going to say, I think that's like a perfect pairing, because Frank Castle, I would say, does not respect very many people, and Peter Parker is one person, or Spider-Man, I should say, is one person that he respects greatly. And that's the same in the comics as well. Like, one of my favorite parts of the Civil War comic is when Spider-Man is trying to find, Captain America's secret lair or whatever, and he gets attacked by a bunch of villains, and then Punisher saves him because he's like, no, this is the best of the best. We need this guy. And it's the same here in the MCU. Like, they have this fun, awesome dynamic, but deep down, Frank knows that Peter Parker is like the best dude in New York City. Like, he's just the best guy ever. And it shows at the end when he shoots him and he stays with him until he wakes up. Like, he helps him get out of there. Like, at that point, after shooting him, of course, he's willing to do anything for Peter, because he knows that Peter is the best of the heroes. He's just got a pure, good heart. And that's what Frank respects. Like, yes, obviously all these other heroes are around New York and New York City, MCU, stuff like that. Frank doesn't care about any of that, but he does care about being a good person. So I think their dynamic is just incredible. John Bernthal is so funny in this movie. And I love that we get back to like jokey Punisher in this too, because I liked One Last Kill a lot. But man, the last, like, even the Punisher show and One Last Kill, it gets depressing, man. Like, he's going through so much crap. And I'm like, this dynamic is it's so great.
I didn't like the One Last Kill Punisher. I do understand and recognize that it's incredibly close to the source material. So if you're a diehard Punisher reader, totally get it. That's just not for me, and I accept that. This character is so much better when he's paired up with other people. He's paired up with Daredevil.
He's a great teammate.
He's an incredible number 2 for every roster character. And it would behoove Marvel to consider him having Avengers stories in the future as well, because there have been great stories in the comics.
Have him take over for John Cheadle's character. Have him take over.
I think the Avengers is too much for him because he works with select people very well. Daredevil and Spider-Man being one of them.
Yeah, well, then
there's on an Avengers team, he would clash with a lot of those guys.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see that, Isaac. I want to see him clash with them. I think the thing you're pushing against, I would argue, is what needs to happen.
I get what you're saying. I think you couldn't have him in the Avengers because he would see Doomsday and be like, that guy's a bad guy. And it would
just shoot him immediately.
Yeah. No,
he would use
I'm not saying he should be an Avenger.
To know that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he should be an Avenger. I'm saying he needs to be paired with Avengers.
I get what you want. This is what Max wants. He wants Midnight Suns. Your Midnight Suns are Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Moon Knight, and the Punisher, and Spider-Man. There you go.
I want Ant-Man and Midnight Suns.
Oh gosh,
I want Ant-Man and Midnight Suns.
That'd be wild.
What I really appreciated about Frank Castle's Punisher was we got to go deeper into that character in a way that wasn't PTSD driven. They gave us that movie or special, whatever you want to call it.
They gave us a little bit in the movie, just a little bit when MJ looked at the cabinet.
Yeah. They gave me the perfect amount that if I hadn't watched it, I figured it out. And also, it was a perfect setting to have MJ and Peter really wrestle through this stuff. Because again, as I said earlier, this is a future potential for Peter Parker. He could be living in a place like this, setting up booby traps, like totally living off the grid, being grumpy, and just being an old man yelling at everybody. And that's
Isaac
one of the redeeming parts of, I know that's
Isaac
like
wants an old man Spider-Man. Yeah, there you go.
Played by Nick Cage.
Yeah, and so I loved this team up. I thought it was great. I thought he was great when he fought the Hulk and realized there's nothing he can do. I loved the line, "What are you going to do? You're going to tickle him? What are you doing? Get out of here." Like, was so, again, those...
Craig just putting like magazines and rounds into the Hulk was just hilarious. I was just like, oh, this guy knows he's not taking him down, but he's still just peppering him with this.
So well choreographed too, by the way. Bernthal's great in this. You could tell he has great chemistry with Tom Holland. I loved it. And but let's get to the big character. I think the biggest character I can think of in the last 10 years in a Marvel movie is this character, Jean Grey. I can't think of a bigger cameo reveal in a Marvel movie.
Oh, I mean, I would probably say Spider-Man Civil War, but whatever.
When did Civil War come out?
Yeah, was that 10 years ago? That was probably over 10 years ago.
2016.
Oh my gosh, holy buckets. Yeah, so like literally since Spider-Man himself got revealed, I think this is the biggest reveal. And doggone it, I'm going to say something controversial here. I think Sadie Sink's the strongest actor in this movie. And I know Tom Holland nailed it. I'm not saying Tom Holland did bad. I'm saying Sadie Sink was incredible in this movie.
And I don't know if I'd go that far, but I get where you
I think she was dynamite. I think
she much Stranger Things love in there for you.
That's fine. Call me yep, whatever. I'm just going to say Sadie Sink was incredible. I give her a 6 out of 6 in her performance. And I thought the reveal of her name was really well done, how they had it on the screen. And Isaac, I'm glad you didn't know. I mean, Mark and I, we had talked about it. There were rumors, but there's always a small part of me with the rumors that it's like, it's probably not that. It's probably something else. So it was cool to get the reveal. And I loved, one of the things I loved about my Spider-Man viewing experience, and this is just for me anecdotally, I don't know about you guys, but my theater was jam-packed. And people were responding to things on the screen. Mm-hmm. So when certain characters would show up, you'd hear some people hoot and holler. When that computer turns to say Jean Grey, several people gasp in my audience, and I was just like, "This is incredible."
Yep,
absolute cinema.
Absolute cinema. To speak on that a little bit, I know we're going to talk about the movie theater stuff a little bit later, but like, so Holly and I, my wife and I, were going to go on Thursday during the day, like as early as we could. And then she decided like earlier that week, because she teaches dance on Thursday nights, and she would have had to leave straight from the viewing to go teach. She was like, I just don't want to do that. Like, I want to be like prepared for teaching all that stuff. And I was like, okay, we can delay it a day, I guess, if you really want to. So we did, and I had to cancel my tickets for the first one because I bought those I'd say a week in advance, probably, or something like that. The second time around, I was having a hard time finding seats that weren't edge seats in the theater all throughout the day. Matinees, like as early as I could find them, all the way to the late night showings. It was insane how many people are showing up for this movie. This is like Barbenheimer, and obviously greater than Barbenheimer. But like, this is the last time I was in theaters that people were showing up in numbers and responding was Barbenheimer. And it was it's just the movie theater experience when you've got a crowd like that is just so much fun. I love it.
Completely agree. And I think that theater experience is only going to help this movie with a reveal like Jean Grey, who is one of the quintessential X-Men, who is an Omega level mutant, and it's showcased in this movie. Who they made a really risky decision, I think. I think it was gutsy for Marvel to let this character be a villain, and I deeply respect the decision. And Mark, you and I talked on the Patreon episode. Check that out for as low as $2 a month. We'd love for you to listen. Mark and I talked about how do they do the X-Men in the future after Doomsday. And one of the things I said that I stand by is I really believe this is one of those moments where they're setting that relationship with the public up. And I think that's why they did WandaVision the way they did. I think they are trying to get the Marvel Cinematic Universe general public to hate this group of people because they're crazy.
The 616 is at ground level now. Like when mutants start becoming more in the public, that's where we're at. So we're going to experience that. So like without there being like social things like from the 60s, like how original X-Men was all done. It's like, how do you do that now? And I think you have to have a string of them be like have bad stories in the headlines. You'd be like, oh, these mutants are bad. They're always doing bad things.
I think you're nailing it. And that's why I think this movie needed to be that, because it does end, and we'll get to the end in a bit, but like the ending is pro Spider-Man for the public. The public is cool with Spider-Man. Obviously, you're gonna have your J. Jonah Jameson, who ironically
we didn't get one J. Jonah Jameson.
Might be the biggest knock on this movie is that he's not in it. You do have your Kingpins, who I totally think in the future are going to be in this universe at some point, facing off against Spider-Man. I just think the X-Men have to have a series of failure, like you're saying, Mark. And I think who better to do this than Jean Grey, especially with the reveal we got since seeing these movies that we are going to get Emma Frost in this universe at some point. Who knows what she does with her telekinetic abilities. And Jean Grey, I thought it was really interesting how they set the rules for her, that she couldn't hop more than 33 feet from person to person. That was an incredible storytelling device to watch Peter chase this character as she went through several bodies. We also got the menacing shot when she was in his room and talking to him through these different men in the street. Here's the scene that is going to affect people for a very long time, and it is when Spider-Man thinks he's saving MJ. They kiss. He believes that he is talking to the real MJ, when in fact he's talking to Sadie Sink's Jean Grey, played brilliantly by Zendaya, by the way. I thought that was an incredible scene by her.
Best scene in the movie, I think. That was
I guess here's my question. Aside from the Infinity War deaths, is there a more emotional scene in the MCU at the moment than that scene?
No.
I don't think there is.
That was soul crushing when he found that out. It was just like,
yeah, right.
I was like, this person is a villain.
I think after just watching No Way Home recently, when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come in, that's an emotional one. But that's so nostalgia driven that like it's not because of the story itself. This is a story moment, and Zendaya is she has the sauce in that scene, man. That was incredible to see her, the facial expression. It's actually I should say the facial expression stayed the same. And she said those words, and then it turns to Peter, and you're just like, oh my gosh, holy crap, this is what I'm here for, guys. Like, and another thing about like Jean Grey being the villain or whatever is like, I mean, I'm not a huge like X-Men guy. I don't know like the backstory or whatever. I know that like she is an inherently good person in like the comics and stuff like that. And then obviously the Phoenix Force like corrupts her, blah, 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 whatever, all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
The turn that she had from being this like innocent teenager to that just like, oh boy, I loved that moment so much just to see how evil that she could be. But then, then it comes back around and we do see that she is just like basically a kid that is being driven by revenge or, to find her sister, becomes revenge.
Yeah, because we find out Damage Control's the real bad guy.
Right, exactly. Which, I mean, is not super unpredictable necessarily, but it was that moment was maybe the best acting from both Tom Holland and Zendaya that I thought was in the whole entire movie. So big fan of that scene.
I say that to say, I think there are very few emotional beats in the MCU currently that stand against that. Maybe when Tony Stark passes, perhaps when everybody dies in Infinity War, maybe. I'm a sucker for the Scott Lang scene when he figures out that everybody's gone. I think that's a really well acted scene by Paul Rudd. I just can't think of many emotional scenes that are going to have that much weight and that much recollection than that one. And I think it was completely earned through multiple movies of storytelling. It is.
Well, but when Wanda loses her family.
I think I stand by what I said in that the Zendaya scene is one of the most emotional scenes in this MCU series. And I just tip my hat to them. I thought it was an incredibly clever way to play with the audience, because that's this classic trope of true love's first kiss, and Jean Grey even says that, which is just even more on the nose. And I just it really did cement for me that Jean Grey is going to be a complex character in the future, and that's exactly what we need in the X-Men series. We need those characters to be complex. We do need a measure of Cyclops and Jean Grey to have some hateable qualities, if that makes sense. I don't think if they're just pure all the time, it's going to work. I think they are going to have to make mistakes similar to what Jean Grey does in this movie. And also, it was cool to see her power showcase grow. The VMAX thing really threw me for a loop. I thought that was really cool because in my head, I was
Pokemon.
Yeah, in my head, Mark, I could not. I was like, VMAX, where have I heard this? And I think you're right. It has to be Pokemon, because I was like, am I just not remembering some key X-Men lore here? What is going on? And everyone's like visibly confused, but you can't tell with Damage Control if they're lying or not. And I thought that was a really soul-crushing reveal that her sister died in the very place that she was captured to be at. And the revelation that Peter finds out about that by spending an afternoon as Spider-Man with Ned and MJ, which was also an amazing scene where he spent 4 years away from them and he's like, this is the best day of my life. Like, we're playing Legos together. It was just so good. The emotions in this movie are what are going to stick with people and bring people back for a second and third viewing, Isaac.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like you said, I mean, that's one of the most emotional moments in the whole MCU. This movie itself might be one of the more emotional movies in the entire MCU. Like, there was just so many great things going on, and the acting all was incredible. During that scene, the Jean Grey like scene where she realizes the VMAX thing, the only thing that I was kind of like questioning throughout the whole movie was like at the beginning where she like tries to jump into Spider-Man and he like kicks her out. I was like, how, with the power level of Jean Grey, what is the thing that is keeping her out of Peter Parker's Spider-Man? And I don't personally, I don't think that was fully satisfactorily explained to me of like why is Peter the one that can avoid this and everybody else in the whole like whatever kilometer square radius at the end there, why is he the one that can withstand this like mental, you know, he has this mental fortitude or whatever. So I don't know if that was fully explained. I think the movie itself was so good that in the end I didn't care that much. I wouldn't even call it a plot hole necessarily, but like that was one thing that I was kind of like, okay, like I do love that Peter Parker is pretty cool and has that mental fortitude, but why? Why does he have that mental fortitude?
Probably because spiders have different wavelengths in the brain.
Okay. All right.
I was going to say maybe it has to do with Doctor Strange's spell, and that everyone forgetting Peter Parker doesn't allow anyone to also go back
right
without his permission, maybe necessary. And I could be digging through the weeds here. It is probably a plot hole, but this movie does so much heavy lifting with all the other characters that it doesn't matter.
Right. And ultimately it didn't phase me that much, so it wasn't that big a deal. But
can Jean Grey control animals in the comics? Are we anything like that? Because like that would go back to like.
I mean, I would imagine that she could if she can control humans. Like why wouldn't she be able to?
Well, if their frequency of their brains are different, then that might be a key
Here's
factor.
Okay. Now I'm gonna play my mark here, get into the weeds a little bit, and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit too. But in that moment that she's, you know, has that hold on everybody in the area, do we think that moment where she's like in everybody's heads that frees up some like memory from MJ and Ned? Because they seem to, Ned at the end like has the kind of like muscle memory handshake with Peter, right? And he says Peter, obviously he knew that it was Peter from MJ saying that earlier, but he gets this kind of like realization on his face. Do we think that they are going to actually remember their memories like from before, or is that just like a, oh, that's weird and we're still going to start slate clean? Because I've heard that theory online that moment kind of like unlocked the memory of Peter in their heads.
No, I think it undercuts everything they've done to have them remember that quickly. I think it's going to be at its best if Peter 51st dates this. He has to go back and make her fall back in love with him. I do think there's an argument to be made it loosened up that memory. So like it gave them understanding that this is an important person and he is telling the truth. There was no room for them to believe that it wasn't true. But the scene
I don't know about that. Because you go back to Doctor Strange's spell, and it's like I don't think her telepathy could change a spell from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm kind of along that line too, of like it was just muscle memory and he kind of just remembered MJ saying Peter. But I think that you're totally right, Max, that would like undercut the whole No Way Home movie.
You can't do it. That decision is final. And Infinity War does go back and bring everybody back, but that's why they made such a big emphasis in Endgame of saying we're not rewriting the last 5 years. The last 5 years happened. It's the same concept here. The concept is everyone forgot about Peter Parker. He has to live this life. He has to live with that is a direct consequence of him being an idiot with that spell. Which, by the way, I rewatched that movie before going to see this, and I forget how much he messed with the spell. Like it was truly his fault.
Big time.
Totally his fault. So he has to carry the guilt and shame of all that stuff. His Aunt May died because of him. He has to carry that. And that's really important. So I just don't see a world where it's true love's first kiss or even the handshake. I think the handshake was a trigger to Ned of going like, oh, Peter, like MJ said, you're Spider-Man. So now there's a reopening of that relationship. I see Ned letting him back in immediately as his friend. Immediately.
Especially if that's the knowledge that he's Spider-Man, because Ned is like all in on Spider-Man. So,
but I think the MJ thing is going to take probably till the third movie of this trilogy, and that's when you either kill her or you kill Peter.
Interesting. Okay, so you think we're going to get a whole new trilogy with her? So do we ever get like a Gwen as a love interest for?
I think Gwen Stacy would be great for the next movie.
Or we get Cindy Moon.
Cindy Moon was in this movie.
Just saying.
Wait, not Cindy Moon. Hold on. Who plays? Who's Silk? Who's Silk? Hold on.
Isn't that Cindy Moon? Isn't Cindy Moon Silk?
Was that Cindy Moon? Yeah, she was in this movie.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yes.
What do you mean?
She's the one that asked the question in Bruce Banner. Matt, Isaac, you're the Spider-Man person.
Catch that?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I didn't catch that.
Did you also not catch Rogue in the movie too?
What?
Yeah, the Rogue cameo was slick.
Yeah.
Was it really a Rogue cameo though?
It looked like Rogue from the Evolutions comic or show, like the second one.
I mean, it kind of looked like her, the actress that played her in the Fox. It wasn't her, but like they have the same like look. But I think that's actually Rogue.
Isaac, look at me. We think it was Rogue.
Okay. That's right. Well, hey, you know what? You guys are right about Jean Grey. You're right about. Here's another thing that I wasn't right about. I did not think the Hand would be in this movie if Daredevil was not in it. I was like convinced Daredevil was in this movie.
Dude, okay, so the Hand thing, here's what I texted Mark about this, because this is the most I've talked to any of you about a movie before we recorded, which says how much I've loved this movie. Mm-hmm. I said there is no world where Daredevil doesn't find out that the Hand's working for damage control and doesn't come ready to beat them up.
Yes.
Damage control is 1000% season 3's villains, in my opinion. That is where they have to go.
Do you think they set that up at the end of Daredevil Born Again with Matt Murdock going to jail to make people just like make wild theories about him being in?
I think it was a coincidence.
Just coincidence?
I think Sony and Marvel...
Clearly Doom put him in prison.
That's the only reason Doom's coming to take over the 616.
He's like, I'm going to go down a lot of hallways, and I don't want to run into Daredevil.
We cannot have any hallways allowed on 616. No hallways.
Who let this hallway have Daredevil in it?
One character we didn't talk about, and we're going to get to the end here with that fight with the Hand shortly, but I do want to sidestep and talk about Yelena, played by Florence Pugh, which was such a funny scene in the bathhouse. So she literally just showed up to work one day and worked in that place and then left. That was a brilliant way to have that character in there. We obviously get the small potatoes line. We get her interacting with Peter. She says, I see your belly button, which I thought was a very creepy thing to say to him, but also it's Florence Pugh saying it's a little funnier.
Yeah, right.
But
it was very Yelena.
And him dangling his feet in the tub. It was very funny. Just a brilliant
He was relaxing. He was chilling.
Yeah.
So like, here's another thing I've seen online too, or people talk about this, so this is post Thunderbolts. So like my first thing is like New York people are insane to keep living there, especially after this event.
For real.
But timeline wise, the events of Brand New Day have to be most likely 2 months before the Fantastic Four show up.
You are correct.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing I thought was interesting. It's like timeline wise, that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought.
So like, what happens to Spider-Man? Like, how does Yelena, or I guess Lily, she thinks he's a small potato guy, so I guess she would never call him up to be part of the team.
We'll get to that in a second because I do want to talk about the post-credit scene in Doomsday. But let me say this with her: I really appreciated them choosing her. I said this at the beginning of this episode. When it's revealed that Sarah is the motivation for Jean Grey, and Yelena looks. Her face changes. It's a great acting moment, and it just again goes to show the depth that this universe has when it's done correctly. And it made complete sense that she was in this episode. I call it an episode. This movie in the episodic movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just really appreciated her presence here, and I was gobsmacked, Isaac. I had no idea she was in this movie. I was like, whoa, okay, all right. Who else is like, when she was in it, I was like, anyone could show up.
Well, you did know this. We talked about this in the podcast when we were talking about this movie.
I don't think I believed that she was in it, though. I genuinely didn't. Like, at that point, Mark, it was like, she's rumored to be in it. And I was like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I just didn't believe it. this movie totally challenged. When she showed up, I didn't know who else was going to show up. That was how I felt. I feel like anyone could show up at this point. And that's how these movies should function. They should function that way, where you go to see, who could be in it. So let's get back to the end then. So Peter discovers, after hanging out with Ned and MJ, that it was indeed damage control that was behind it. They've obviously captured Jean Grey. They're testing and pushing her power set ability. It starts to get out of control. She builds the kilometer ring. Isaac, you alluded to this. You talked about how is he getting past her mind in there. And earlier in the movie, there's a scene where she does enter Peter's mind, and she sees Aunt May, which this would be allegedly, the way the timeline's looking to me, this is the scene right after Aunt May discovers Peter is Spider-Man. So this is subsequently the same conversation that happens after she discovers this and freaks out on him. And the first time it's very brief and it's just Peter. But then the second time around, she has this conversation and they utilize Aunt May as the moral framework, just like the comics. Some would say it's Uncle Ben. I personally would argue Aunt May is part of that conversation. Would you agree, Isaac? You're kind of the Marvel or the Spider-Man expert.
The MCU is basically using Aunt May as the comic Uncle Ben, and I think that's totally fine. I know we've talked about this to death. Uncle Ben is the figure that makes Spider-Man who he is. If we're changing that, I'm okay with that. We just need to have that person that makes Spider-Man who he is. And in the MCU, it's Aunt May.
And they continue that tradition very well here. And that's where Jean Grey engages with her. And that is where Jean Grey, I believe, goes from villain to hero. That is the moment she realizes she's not isolated. She does, in fact, not need to do this. And her and Peter have this wonderful conversation. His Spider-Man gear is removed. He's into street clothes. And they talk about having each other. And then that's where we get the shot of the Punisher shooting him, which we'll come back to that in a second. I skipped over one more thing. Mark, we're in the spoiler review. My gosh. What did we think, Isaac? What did you think of the scene where Jean Grey challenges Peter? Are you going to be the Spider-Man, or are you going to be Peter Parker? And he says, I'm both. And just starts to whoop up on the hand. What were your thoughts on that?
Loved it. I love that that's the way they took it. However, then we circle back to the man spider thing. If he's going to embrace that part of him, then why did it stop with just like him having the good stuff and then coming back to Spider-Man? Like I don't know why that is. I'm okay with it.
So when we got
a little bit, still want four-armed Spider-Man at some point.
When they had the Scorpion fight where he went, was going Spider, I was like, okay, we know his strength. And then that fight, I was like, when he said that, I was like, just the arms bust out and he just havoc on them.
See, would that be cool if they just like rip out of his suit and he just like?
I think that would have been too campy. I think it might have been too campy to have Tom Holland have 6 arms.
Right.
So maybe it was a good thing they didn't do it.
It wouldn't have worked, Mark. It would have made what happened after that work.
Would I want it? Yes, but you're right. I don't think it would have worked. It would have made it real cheesy.
That's when, like, somehow you figure out how the symbiote gets there. Like, Damage Control had the symbiote vial. Because remember, that was collected after the end of one of these episodes. So
yeah, I guess I'm not pro Man Spider. I don't see a need for it. I'm more in the camp of let's get to Venom before we get to that.
We gotta get to Venom before we get to Secret Wars.
And that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But like, are we just saying now that he just has perfect balance and he's never going to deal with that again?
Maybe he's perfect.
Oh, it'll come back up. I think it'll come back up. But I think that was the wrestling match in this movie. And that was because and this translates perfectly to the end, Isaac. Great segue. He gets shot by the Punisher, and it's classic Punisher. It was a great decision.
Like, they're going to kill Spider-Man in this movie?
Oh, yeah. I thought he was dead.
Punisher kill him? I was like,
somebody said this.
I was like, there's no way they're going to kill Spider-Man in this movie.
I will say this too, Mark. I read online, somebody made a great point. They said when Peter thought he was dying in Infinity War, he said, I don't want to go. And then here he was like calmly telling her to get out of here. It was evident he was ready based on his arc to go.
It's because he was so depressed.
Yeah, and Jean Grey ends up breathing for him.
Depressed Spider-Man,
which is crazy. Crazy, like
that's so crazy that she kept him alive. Yes,
wild. That's wild. She does I love that. Here's the other thing too about that part specifically. I love that for the Punisher, because without that, I think Punisher is not really the Punisher, because he fully knows through that whole scene of the Hulk trying to get to Jean Grey with Spider-Man, if he gets to her first, he's putting a bullet in her. Like, he's going to kill her. And the fact that he actually tried to during that moment, I love it, because that is the Punisher. That's who he is. And I like that they didn't make him too nice and campy for the MCU. I love that they still kept his character.
Punisher kills
and John Bernthal. John Bernthal, like, I love him.
I want to get a poster of Punisher carrying in Spider-Man.
Yes, yes, and that's the parallel to that Civil War where he's carrying in Spider-Man to Captain America's lair. Like, oh, great parallel. And the fact that it's his fault that he shot Spider-Man is perfect. Like, because he's got that guilt that he shot this guy who he thinks is just like pure-hearted, good guy who he respects so much. And that's why he sticks with him and then puts the Spider-Man mask on. He's like,
I will say this, guys, the emotional weight I felt seeing that shot in the screen was so big for me. That was such a win for comic book fans, and a beautiful scene. Everything about it makes it really crescendos this movie to Jean Grey breathing for him, Punisher doing exactly what the Punisher would do and paying the dire consequences for almost killing him. Peter Parker now has to unmask in front of him. So there's stakes to him being shot. And now somebody does know his identity. It's not the people he wants, but it's these friends he has. And then the beautiful revelation, you talked about him putting the mask on in public, but Peter realizing he does indeed have a community. He has Yelena. He has the Hulk. He has Punisher. He's realizing in this stage moving forward, just like the comics, that the heroes that he does this alongside, the city of New York's behind him, but the comic book heroes that do it with him are there for him. And that's something this character had in the Tony Stark era, but he kind of was sidelined and pushed to the side and was under Tony Stark. This is a really, really cool transition. And man, that scene where he walks out and here's everybody cheering for him, and Frank is doing the things you talked about.
Unnecessary for him to be
totally unnecessary, but so perfectly John Bernthal Punisher. Like, it was, oh my gosh, so funny.
They knew the assignment, and the kid thwipping at him was beautiful.
Oh, that reminded me of the scene in Amazing Spider-Man 2 when he's at the very final scene. The movie is not great, don't get me wrong, but the final scene when he's starting to face off against the Rhino and he comes back and the kid goes under the barrier to, like, you know, he's got the Spider-Man suit on, and then Andrew Garfield shows up finally after whatever it was, 6 months or something of not being Spider-Man, shows up, and there's that amazing emotional like moment where he's like, I got this, kid. Thanks for keeping going for me, you know? And then that's what that moment reminded me of, like, hey, it's this amazing connection with, like, he doesn't know this kid, but he knows that this kid loves Spider-Man.
That was a great scene in that movie, Isaac.
That's what he needs to keep going. Yeah, there's a lot
of
great
that was a great scene in that movie, and I'll defend that scene. And that movie gets better the older I get, as weird as that sounds.
It does.
It somehow gets better, and I don't know how I'm saying that, but it does.
It's still my least favorite Spider-Man movie, but it has aged very well.
Yeah.
The visual effects in Amazing Spider-Man 2 are kind of insane for how old that movie is, actually. Like, they're still really good. But anyways, brand new day. Back to it. Yeah, but that connection with the kid, loved it. That was just, man, so many emotional like moments, just one right after the other in this movie.
And we've spent 10 years earning them. Mark, you're right. Civil War was released in 2016. From the needle drop of, who do you have? Mine's downstairs. Who's yours? And then it cuts to Queens, and Tony Stark's in Aunt May's apartment, to this moment has been a 10-year journey with this specific character that combined the other things that Spider-Man did, that I think the best Mary Jane or MJ, whatever you want to call her, I think it is Zendaya. I think she is the best MJ, and I don't care what other people say. I believe she's earned the right to be the definitive MJ. I don't know if the jury's still out maybe on the Ned thing. It kind of depends on how they handle the Hobgoblin stuff. If they're going to do it, especially with Harry being the canon Spider-Man friend that turns villain. But I think Zendaya's MJ is the definitive MJ after this. And just like the Mary Jane from the original trilogy, that scene with her saying, "I don't know you, I never loved you," just permeates throughout this whole movie. Everything since she says that is present. It's like that phrase is present throughout the rest of this movie to me. I felt that phrase for the rest of the next hour of this movie. And that is exactly where it ends. And it's ambiguous. She's like holding the necklace and she's sitting on the rooftop at the high school. So you're right, Isaac or Mark, maybe there is some way that they're going to remember. Maybe they will go back on it in the next movie. But this feels to me just emotionally like we are not done with this part of the story. This feels like we're going to have even more emotional heaviness, potentially a death in the next movie. I don't know. I just get the feeling we will explore this after Doomsday again in a pretty tough way. I think we broke everything down. Is there anything I'm missing from your guys' end before we go to the post-credit scene?
We don't need a ton of time, but the leader of Damage Control that basically is going to have to be a bad guy down the road. And like, what was his intentions? What were they trying to do? Like, well, we kind of got it. They were trying to make agents that could get the telekinesis, but anyways.
That actually is going to ask that. Trammell Tillman
like the flip.
Plays him, who is fantastic in Severance, and you should watch Severance too. But William Metzger is the character. Does he have any like connection to the like X-Men in the comics or something like that? I didn't know
he first appeared in X-Men Children of the Atom. So number 1, this would have been 1999. I have not read it. This is a simple Google search for clarity. I'm not that deep in the lore. But this appears to me to be the Stryker of this universe. And I'm cool with it.
That makes sense.
Because I like Trammell Tillman. I think he's a great actor. Isaac, great. You nailed it. He plays a menacing figure.
Does do the anti-mutant militia. So if we're gonna go down, like you said earlier in the podcast, or there might have been the Patreon, which is only $2 a month, and you can feed Zane. If we're gonna have the people love some people love the X-Men or the mutants, you got to have the other side. And if we know comic lore, we got to have a lot of the other side hating on the mutants. Max needs a lot of Pride and Prejudice with X-Men.
I need Avengers Little Women. That's what I'm looking for, right? I do think our major MCU characters right now have diplomatic fights, but they don't necessarily have that street level fighting. The X-Men is going to need that street level political issue, and I think this is a character that can drive it. And Trammell Tillman could have his own movie, as far as I'm concerned. He's an incredible actor.
Not in the MCU.
I think he'd be a.
It's real. That's the one thing I will stand on my soapbox after seeing that stat of all the black lead like shows and movies that have just like fallen through the cracks at Marvel. It's just like, but I mean, we got Ironheart, we got Black Panther, and it's like, and Wonder Man about it, but like, nope, we don't get any more of that. Black Panther's best we got for you.
The Mahershala Ali Blade thing that's a travesty because that guy was all in on that project, and the fact that didn't happen, that's a big blemish on Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel's got some cleaning up to do. You're right, because Wonder Man was awesome. We all loved it on this show.
It was great.
I was ready for season 2. Frankly, I was kind of like, man, could we get him in Avengers? Mark, you're right. When it comes to Trammell Tillman, I guess to the credit of, could he be a villain? Do they feel like they could do that? I mean, Monica Rambeau's stuck somewhere in the X-Men universe, and she hasn't been announced for Doomsday. My gut would tell me she's showing up. Yeah, Armor Wars got canceled. Also, to your credit, they were never going to cancel Black Panther or change it.
Well, I know, but
so I think that one's the safe one. But I said this on the Patreon as well. What about Shang-Chi? That movie did gangbusters in the box office. He's definitely my favorite character of the new rendition of Heroes. Where the heck's he been? How did he not make at least a cameo in another movie? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
right. I think at this point, like, I'm just gonna. This is my hope and dream with the character in Simon Liu is that after Doomsday, we're gonna be like Shang-Chi is like a leader of the Avengers, so we're gonna put more weight on him, is my thought. Or hope, I should say. And hopefully, like, he'll have his season 2 in the next saga.
And you got great opportunity to give people of color or different background major characters with the X-Men. Major character. I mean, they got to get this Storm casting right. Because if you have a new Black Panther with David Johnson, you have to get the Storm casting right. She's clearly going to be the love interest of him. Let's talk Doomsday. We do get a post-credit scene that shows the spider tracker that appears to show Spider-Man off planet. There have been a few theories. One theory being that it is Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and they're going to somehow be in the next movie, that it could be Peter Parker. He's in the next movie off planet fighting. Or there's been a rumor that it be Battle World, which is what we're anticipating will be the Secret Wars plot. It has been confirmed by Kevin Feige that Jonathan Hickman's run of Secret Wars, which came out, I believe, 15 years ago, 2015, so 11 years ago, that is the inspiration for that movie. And if you're unfamiliar with it, I would recommend you go get it. It's a great read, and it does involve pretty much all the characters we have, actually. So they have the right characters to do this arc if they'd like. So what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think this is Spider-Man? Another theory that I haven't heard as much that Mark and I talked about offline is this a Beyond or Across the Spider-Verse connection? Could Peter be transported to that universe, helping Sony's third movie that I believe comes out next year?
Well, my theory is if this app can track that, it doesn't track necessarily sightings of Spider-Man. It tracks whatever energy or frequency Spider-Man produces, which then would lead to it maybe can track other Spider-Mans. When other Spider-Man come into the universe, it could be tracked. Anyways, there's my theory.
So you're saying that Ned Leeds developed this tech that can track Spider-Man's whatever DNA or energy frequency
in the show,
to other multiverses?
We already got them to solve the mutant problem by the inhibitor. So, yeah.
That's another thing we didn't talk about is the mutant inhibitor. Oh my gosh.
Basically, that's what was created in this show as a mutant inhibitor.
Let's talk about the post-credit scene, and then I got to go back to that because we got to talk about that. But I was questioning a lot of those things that you talked about. Is this a Doomsday thing? Is this a Secret Wars thing? I mean, obviously it means that Spider-Man's going to be involved somehow. I feel like Secret Wars would be a perfect place to have, Toby and Andrew and Tom all there helping fight, all that kind of stuff. I don't know, there's so many questions about Doomsday that I just don't know how they would fit them in Doomsday without their creating a lot more questions. But this is so vague that I have no idea where it's heading. But I would venture to guess that Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire will all be involved in Secret Wars for sure. Maybe Doomsday? I don't know yet.
Is Tom Hardy involved in Secret Wars?
Oh boy, that's another good question. If they're gonna bring him into the MCU, that's the time to do it, right? That's the time to do it. When he can just make a quick cameo and then just kind of either get killed or
you see his face whatever. Once, and then he's just Venom the rest of the time.
Yeah, true.
Well, true. And I've wondered too, Isaac. After reading the Secret Wars Hickman run, the Thors represent the police of Doom. I almost wonder if Doom would use the Spider-Man, because there's so many different renditions of Spider-Man that could be a lot of fun. You could pull from the Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse stuff. I think Sony would have zero issue sharing those IPs with Marvel for that. I think it could be a really fun way to get Nicolas Cage back into the fold. Potentially Eternals. I think that's a great idea too. I think there's a lot that they could do with the many renditions of Spider-Man. I think they will be in Secret Wars. I'm going to be kind of shocked if our Peter Parker from the MCU is not in Doomsday.
Right.
That's going to shock.
Gotta be. Well, he's either got to be. We got to see him why he's not going to be involved, or maybe
that's what I thought the post-credit scene was going to show, is some kind of lead up to Doomsday, but we didn't get that.
Or we see maybe Spider-Man's one of our first captures by Doom to bring him to Battleworld.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what our first thing. We got to know where Spider-Man is in Doomsday. I agree with you. Like the first act of the movie, we have to know where Spider-Man is. I just feel like if we're going through the whole movie, be like, where the hell is he? Why is Spider-Man not? He swooped himself up into that spaceship. You're telling me he's not going to get involved with Doom?
Yeah, Mark, this movie might make $2 billion. They have to answer that question if he's not in it.
Right.
Yeah.
They have to. They have no choice.
Go back to what you said, Max, though. I disagree that Across Beyond Spider-Verse stuff is going to be involved in this. I could see Tom Holland maybe making a cameo in what is the third one? Across? No, Beyond. Beyond is the third one.
Yeah, Beyond.
I could see him maybe making a cameo, but like I just feel like there's too much stuff going on to rope that whole universe into like Secret Wars, and there's just so much.
I agree too. I'm just sharing what things people are saying.
Your thought of the Spider-Man being the police instead of the Thors?
That would be wild.
With 2099 Spider-Man in the Beyond or Into the Spider-Verse, that's a dude who wanted to crimp everything up. That would be someone who would totally align with Doom's ideas.
But here's the thing, though. Even though it's not specifically those characters, you could have iterations of those characters across the multiverse, like
agreed
Nicolas Cage's Spider-Noir. That guy would fit perfectly into Secret Wars. Like, yeah, bring him in. Let's do it. You could have him play Spider-Noir, and you could have him play Ghost Rider in Battle World. Like, that would be awesome.
Why not?
Why not? Okay. Beyond this, though, I want to go back because that's something that blew my mind in this movie. The mutant inhibitor thing. Just think, in the MCU, mutant inhibitors were invented by Peter Parker. What a crazy sentence that is. The fact that mutants and this whole debacle that we're going to get in the next saga, these mutant inhibitors that are most definitely going to be used in that saga,
it'll be
developed by Peter Parker.
It'll be a perfect reason when Peter has to decide who to team with, the Avengers or the X-Men.
Right.
And the X-Men are going to be like, well, he invented the inhibitors. And then he's just like, I did.
Oh, my gosh. He's going to have so much guilt about it. It's going to be amazing.
That was what I was going to say. The guilt and shame he'll have, he will.
Oh, man.
This is a perfect way to keep him indebted to the X-Men when they need him. This is how he's going to have to help them. So if you do get an Avengers X-Men team up, that's going to create a massive issue for him. Very similar to how Civil War went when he had to go against Tony Stark. I think you're going to see that play into, because remember when he turned in the Civil War comics. I think he'll do that with Avengers versus X-Men. I think he will start with the Avengers, and then because at that point his identity will be back to being sacred and important. I think it flips at that point, and the X-Men will turn him. And I think there's an argument to be made in this universe that he's closing in on a mutation, and so maybe he just says, maybe I am like them, even though it hasn't been fully defined yet how that all works in this universe.
But he was bitten, not born with it.
Correct, but I'm saying he may personally say, I align more with this than like the Avengers.
Right. Sure. Because of that personal, like, oh, I have experienced like mutating DNA. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Maybe he will. I definitely think he would have that internal dilemma, because you're right, that Civil War connection, it's just too perfect to pass up. Like, that would be an amazing MCU like reference if we had that in an Avengers versus X-Men movie. Oh man, even just talking about that makes me excited about that. That's so great.
I think an original Sin run is definitely in the cards too for Marvel, because that would be great to see the Punisher work with the Guardians of the Galaxy. It would be great to see him work with Doctor Strange. He gets to do that in those runs. And this movie really opened up to me the idea of him teaming up with other people. Before, I'll be honest, I was like, oh man, they're shoving him in this for no reason. I have a completely different framework after this movie of saying, get him in as many movies as we can.
Right. They did such a good job. Like, I feel like there's two sides of the MCU, right? Like, in the past couple phases, we have been dealing with there is no connection between any of these movies. There's no cameos between any of the characters. And we've been getting frustrated with that. You have the other side that maybe you have cameos and it gets overstuffed, like you were saying, with characters that don't really need to be there, but they're just fan servicey things, which makes us happy because we're Marvel guys and that's awesome. But I feel like this movie played that perfect middle ground of like, it brought in everybody it needed to. I don't think there were any unnecessary cameos. Everybody played a perfect part in this movie. So this is like a perfect representation of what the MCU needs. And yes, it's making a buttload of money because it's Spider-Man, not necessarily because it's the MCU. But if you want to keep making money in the MCU, this is how you do it. Like, you got to bring in a lot of different characters and make them intertwine into the story as perfectly as they did in this movie.
This is the win of all win-wins, in the sense of
Amen.
Sony needs Marvel. They've tried to do all these other universes. On this press tour, Tom Holland has said Sony tried to combine the worlds and they could not build it. Nobody can build what Kevin Feige and his team have done. So Sony desperately needs Tom Holland to stay in this universe because it has all the pieces and ability and flexibility with the collaborative work of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to give him the best stories. And on the flip side, like I said at the very beginning of the non-spoiler review, this is the first time that I think the MCU needs Sony. I've walked out of this movie going, the MCU needs Sony. They do, because nothing else is giving me the emotional reaction in Marvel right now. The last two Spider-Man movies have blown me away. Both of these movies have been tremendously well done, have combined elements of the MCU that I love and adore, and also had nostalgic callbacks. Some of these aspects of these stories have been told before. MJ being a jerk to Spider-Man has been told before, but they did it in a different way. Jean Grey's been told before, but they did it in a different way. And that to me is important. And I think if Marvel keeps going for another 25 years, 30, which it looks to me like they will, this movie is going to be one of those reasons why. Because they needed this movie to be a hit going into Doomsday. The Doomsday is going to make a great amount of money. The question is, will it be good enough to have repeat viewings? And Isaac, I don't really know. I don't know if it's guaranteed that a Spider-Man movie makes money. I think it's a very popular character in that first weekend. But the rewatching ability on this movie is going to make $2 billion. It's not even. Yeah. It's so easy. So easy. I might see this 4 or 5 times. I don't love seeing movies a second time. I've been trying to find a time to see this a second time. This is so good.
Yeah, like I said, immediately when I walked out of the theater, I was like, I gotta find a time to see this again in the movie theater because oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
Like I liked Thunderbolts a lot. I really enjoyed it, and I did go see it again. But I wasn't itching to go see Thunderbolts again. I walked out needing to see this movie again. And I think that says something about what they've done.
Avengers Doomsday obviously is going to have the hype. It's going to have Avengers hype. I would be really curious to see if it can meet this level of hype. Because, I mean, we're almost at $1 billion already on opening weekend. I don't know. Does the MCU have the sauce anymore to do that with Doomsday?
After this, yes. After how Spider-Man went, people are going to be like, well, I got to go see Doomsday. The same people that saw Spider-Man will go see Doomsday at least first weekend. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're probably guaranteeing Doomsday makes $1 billion in a weekend.
Yeah.
And that's success to Marvel. Because they're going to, they need probably, $600 million to break even. So that's success. The question is, can they set that movie up and have it end in a way that Infinity War did? They have the story to do that. The question is, will they have the emotional backing?
Will they execute it? Yeah.
Yeah, they have to execute this. They have set themselves up so well for Doomsday. This movie is the best. I mean, think of Black Panther before Infinity War. It's like that, Isaac. We walked out of Black Panther before Infinity War. And we're like, I cannot wait to see Wakanda in this movie. True. And I feel like I'm going to be devastated if Peter Parker's not in that movie. I just, or if it's not explained. You're absolutely right. Like, or maybe the post-credit scene is he's the post-credit scene, and it's a callback to this movie. That would be enough for me.
Well, that and if we go an incursion route, we could see like he gets sucked into a different universe.
I think we're gonna see. We're probably gonna see another Spider-Man, right? Like we're probably seeing Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Or Andrew Garfield.
I feel like we're gonna see them for sure. I don't know if it's Doomsday or or Secret Wars. Secret Wars, they will be for sure, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely.
Doomsday, I'm like, I don't know. This movie's already got so many characters in it. And if you're bringing in Toby and Andrew, they got to have like some kind of significant role in it.
The universe that's coming into, what was the theory? The universe that's encouraging with the Fantastic Four universe, they said was the Tobey Maguire MCU universe. And someone made the claim, and I forget where, like, I gotta go find it and talk to you guys. It's probably been deleted because they probably took their knowledge from the leaked script. That Tobey Maguire is going to be on the Fantastic Four ship. Like, his Spider-Man is going to be there.
That
was that person's theory.
I don't think that's the case, but that would be wild.
It'd be cool, but I don't buy it.
No. I don't buy that for 1 second because their universe is like a futuristic, like 60s.
No. Vibe. But see, it's Spider. It's the other universe incursion. Their incursions with that universe.
You're saying that their universe incurs into the Fantastic Four universe.
Yes, and that's how Tobey Maguire ends up on their universe.
Okay, interesting.
And then they collectively, the Fantastic Four, him, Doom, and
I feel like that's a reach, but I would love to see it. Mark's all about the reaching. He's like,
well, I saw that and I was like, that's great. That'd be wild. They're not probably going to do it. They're going to save that for Secret Wars to bring everyone from every IP that's ever been made in the last 30 years.
I would love to see it.
Because we're definitely getting into Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, and Secret Wars. Come on.
Do you think, well, no, it's too late already. I was going to say, do you think Ryan Gosling shows up in Secret Wars as a Ghost Rider? Hey, is it too late? They started filming.
Maybe he's an end credit scene.
Maybe.
And he's not playing Johnny Blaze. He's playing the other guy, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
I think he's
playing
Johnny Blaze.
They didn't confirm that he's playing Johnny Blaze, but there's been people speculating that he's playing Danny Ketch, which is like the 90s.
I think he's Johnny. I think he's Johnny Blaze.
I'd be down with either of them. Honestly, though, like,
it depends on what type of bike they want to go with.
Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. That would be. He was great. I loved that.
Talk about a show that was supposed to be canon that they're just like, no thanks, no more.
If they somehow found a way to bring him back with all the Ghost Rider stuff going on, that would be fantastic.
Or like the passing the torch, like he becomes. Anyways, do you think we get Ryan Gosling's Ghost Rider turned into by Mephisto? Do we see Sacha Baron Cohen again as Mephisto?
Yes, I do.
Ooh,
I think that
Mephisto, yeah.
I do.
That's why I'm angry about not having more Ironheart. Is like we made that whole show about how her armor is infused with magic,
right?
And Mephisto's involved in this, so
she'd be pretty good to have in Doomsday.
The further we get away from Ironheart, the more I'm like, are we ever seeing this character again?
Yeah, that's where it's just, like, how does
that sucks.
People didn't watch.
That was a fun show.
We liked it, but people didn't watch. People didn't watch.
How does Shuri not bring her up? Like, we need to get, like, that's the thing. She doesn't need her own show, but like, you got to now with her armor that she got, you got to bring her back.
And if they're not doing Armor Wars, like, where else does she fit? I don't know. Too bad.
So sad.
It's a shame.
Well, we talked for almost 2 hours. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Infinity Bros podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on our socials. Hit some of the links in our show notes here. We have a ton of other episodes we've been reviewing. We're obviously going to be hitting the ground running here in the next couple months as we prepare for Doomsday and reviewing other top movies and TV shows. We hope that you consider subscribing to our podcast and joining us. Hey, as always, we love you guys 3000, and we will see you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at the Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.